Your car is already in the system, right now. Before you have driven a single mile tomorrow morning, a network of cameras, sensors, and license plate scanners along the most traveled highway in America has already been calibrated, tested, and armed. And the moment you pull onto I-95 tomorrow, it goes live. Not partially live, not in select zones. Fully operational coast to coast from Maine to Miami. Here is what nobody is saying clearly enough. The fine does not wait for an officer. It does not wait for a traffic stop. It does not wait for you to know you did something wrong. The violation is recorded, the notice is generated, and the letter is already headed to your mailbox, sometimes within minutes of the infraction, while you are still on the highway. I have spent the last 3 weeks going through every state DOT bulletin, every federal implementation memo, and every pilot program report from the 6-month test corridors. What I found is going to change how every single driver on this road thinks about getting behind the wheel. And one of these rules, the 7th one, the one I am saving for the end, is so poorly understood and so aggressively enforced that during pilot testing it generated more violations in a single week than all 6 other rules combined. Stay with me through all 7. You need every one of them. Before we talk about what changed, you need to understand the scale of what we are talking about. I-95 is not just a highway. It is the circulatory system of the eastern United States. It runs 1,926 miles from the Canadian border at Houlton, Maine, south through every major Atlantic Coast metro area: Boston, Providence, New Haven, New York City, Newark, Philadelphia, Wilmington, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Richmond, Raleigh, Jacksonville, all the way to the southern tip of Florida in Miami. It passes through 15 states plus the District of Columbia. On its peak urban segments, the New Jersey Turnpike stretch, the I-95 corridor through Connecticut, the Capital Beltway interchange zone, it moves upward of 300,000 vehicles on a single day. More vehicles, more miles, more daily exposure than any other highway in the country. And it kills people at a rate that has quietly horrified transportation engineers for 2 decades. Federal highway safety data compiled through the end of 2025 places I-95 consistently in the top 3 most dangerous highway corridors in America when measured by fatal crashes per traveled mile. Over the most recent 5-year reporting window, this road produced more than 14,000 injury crashes. More than 1,100 fatalities. People who merged into work traffic on a Tuesday and never came home. That number is why this happened. Not politics, not revenue generation. The federal government and 15 state DOTs sat down together, commissioned 2 years of research, ran 6 months of live pilot enforcement in select corridor zones, and built something that has never existed on an American highway before. A unified, automated, statewide integrated enforcement network that does not depend on patrol presence, does not give warnings, and does not make exceptions. That network activates tomorrow. To understand why tomorrow feels so different, you have to understand what the last 50 years of highway enforcement actually looked like in practice. A trooper sat in a median cutout. He clocked you with radar. He decided whether to pursue. He pulled you over. He used judgment, your speed, your demeanor, your license history, his own read of the situation, and he wrote a ticket or let you go with a warning. The entire system was bottlenecked through one human being making one decision at a time. That system was wildly inconsistent, and experienced drivers learned to read it. You knew where the common patrol points were. You knew that going 9 over on an open stretch at 2 in the afternoon was essentially 0 risk. You knew that the aggressive tailgater behind you was just as unlikely to be ticketed as you were for anything short of a near miss. The enforcement theater existed, but the actual net was full of holes. And drivers, without even consciously realizing it, drove to those holes. That version of I-95 is over. What replaces it is an infrastructure built on 4 core technologies working simultaneously and continuously. First, high-definition overhead cameras mounted on permanent gantries at 47 new fixed locations, plus existing infrastructure, capable of reading license plates at highway speed in rain, low light, and heavy traffic, cross-referencing every plate against live state registration databases in under 2 seconds. Second, overhead radar systems that do not require a moving patrol vehicle. Fixed-position radar arrays that clock your exact speed as you pass beneath them, associate that speed with your plate, and log the violation without a single officer in the vicinity. Third, infrared sensor arrays that can measure vehicle spacing in real time, detect occupancy in restricted lanes, and flag sub-minimum speeds in active travel lanes. These sensors do not watch randomly. They process every vehicle in every lane, every time. Fourth, a centralized federal-state processing pipeline that takes the flagged violation, confirms it against registration data, generates the notice, and routes it to the mailing address on file. From violation to mailbox, the process can complete in under 72 hours. There is no intercept point. There is no appeal window before the notice is issued. There is no moment where your explanation changes what the sensor recorded. 7 changes, all active tomorrow, all enforced automatically. Here is every single one. The first change is the one most people have heard about, but the details are worse than the headlines suggest. Speed cameras on I-95 previously existed only in active construction zones with posted signage. Under tomorrow's activation, 47 new permanent speed enforcement locations go live across the corridor, not in construction zones. In open travel sections flagged by crash data as statistically high risk. The tolerance threshold has been cut nearly in half. Previously, the automated system did not generate a violation until a vehicle exceeded the posted limit by 11 miles per hour. A driver on a 65 miles per hour stretch could travel at 75 and never receive a notice. That window is gone. Effective tomorrow. The violation threshold in standard travel zones drops to 6 miles per hour over the posted limit. In high-density areas, defined as any segment within 10 miles of a major metropolitan interchange, the threshold drops further to 3 miles per hour over. On a 65 miles per hour stretch near a major urban interchange, 69 miles per hour triggers a recordable violation. The fine structure. First offense, standard zone, $75. First offense, high-density zone, $125. Second offense within 12 months, $250. Third offense or beyond, $400 plus potential license points at the recording state's discretion. And unlike a court appearance where travel time and attorney fees make fighting a $75 ticket impractical, the automated notice includes a streamlined challenge portal. But the burden of proof is on you, not the system. This is the first rule on this list that is going to catch people off guard, because most drivers have no idea this technology even exists. Overhead sensor systems that combine radar measurement with infrared imaging can now calculate the precise gap between your front bumper and the rear bumper of the vehicle ahead, in real time, while both vehicles move at highway speed. The computation accounts for vehicle speed, lane assignment, and gap persistence, meaning the system does not flag a momentary close pass during a merge. It flags a sustained gap violation. In designated high-density corridor segments, within 15 miles of a major urban interchange, maintaining less than a 2-second following gap for more than 4 consecutive seconds is now a recordable violation. Do the math on what 2 seconds actually means. At 65 miles per hour, you are covering approximately 95 feet per second. 2 seconds of following distance is roughly 190 feet, more than half a football field, between your front bumper and the car in front of you. Now think about what I-95 actually looks like during peak hours in Connecticut, in northern New Jersey, on the approach to the Baltimore Tunnel. Gaps of a quarter second, half a second, bumper to bumper at speed for miles. That driving behavior, the behavior that feels completely normal to anyone who has commuted on this road for more than a week, is now a ticketable offense in designated segments. Fine structure. First offense, $100. Second offense within 12 months, $200. Escalation to license point assessment after a third offense. This rule alone, based on pilot testing data, is expected to generate more than 40,000 violation notices in its first 30 days of full activation. Stop. This is the one. I said at the beginning that one rule generated the highest volume of violations during pilot testing by a significant margin. This is that rule. And when you understand what it actually catches, you are going to realize that almost every driver reading this has done exactly what triggers it, probably within the last week. Every major American highway posts both a maximum speed and a minimum speed. On the primary travel lanes of I-95, the minimum posted speed is 45 miles per hour in most jurisdictions. Federal traffic engineering research has documented for decades that driving significantly below the minimum posted speed in an active through lane, not breaking down, not merging, actively traveling, creates speed differentials that directly cause the braking chain reactions, abrupt lane changes, and rear-end collision sequences that are responsible for a significant portion of highway fatality events. In other words, the driver doing 35 in a 65 zone is frequently more dangerous than the driver doing 75. New sensors specifically designed to detect sub-minimum speeds are now active in designated corridor segments. If you are traveling in an active through lane at a speed more than 10 miles per hour below the posted minimum for that segment, your plate is recorded, the violation is logged, and a notice is generated. First offense, $50. But here is where it hits. Think about the last time you were looking for an exit you almost missed. Think about the last time you were dealing with your GPS recalculating in the right lane. Think about the last time you slowed to 38 or 40 miles per hour in a travel lane because traffic ahead looked uncertain and you were not sure whether to commit to the lane you were in. In a designated enforcement segment, that behavior now generates a $50 fine automatically, without any officer ever knowing it happened. The pilot data is what makes this alarming. In 6 months of testing across 3 corridor segments, minimum speed violations accounted for 34% of all automated notices issued, higher than speed violations, higher than following distance violations, higher than every other category. The behavior it catches is not unusual. It is not reckless. It is something a significant percentage of drivers do without a second thought. And starting tomorrow, every single instance of it in a designated segment generates a fine. 23 fixed camera locations across the I-95 corridor are now equipped with AI-assisted image recognition technology capable of identifying handheld device use as a driver moves through a designated zone. This is not interpretation. The system identifies a device held above the dashboard line in a position consistent with active use. That image is flagged automatically, then reviewed by a human examiner before any notice is issued. The human confirmation step is real. This is not fully automated to the point of no oversight. But based on pilot testing, the human reviewer confirmation rate for flagged images exceeded 91%. During the 8-month pilot at 3 corridor locations, the camera system detected probable handheld device use in an average of 12.4% of all vehicles captured during peak travel hours, 1 in 8 drivers. During every peak period, on a highway that moves 300,000 vehicles a day. Fine structure varies by state. Most corridor states, $150 first offense. New York and New Jersey, up to $450 first offense plus surcharges under existing enhanced distracted driving penalty laws. Connecticut, $150 first offense, escalating to $375 for a second offense within 24 months. These cameras are fixed at interchange and ramp locations, not at open highway sections. The specific camera locations will not be publicly listed in a searchable format. That is intentional. If you use HOV lanes during restricted hours, this change is specifically designed for you. The new sensor infrastructure combines infrared imaging with machine learning occupancy estimation to flag vehicles that appear to carry a single occupant in lanes restricted to 2 or more during enforcement windows. Flagged vehicles are either confirmed by a reviewing officer via live camera feed or intercepted by a patrol unit responding to the automated alert in real time. Fine structure across the corridor. Florida, $65 base. Virginia, $125. Maryland, $90. Delaware and New Jersey, $75. New York and Connecticut, $150. All figures are base fines before any license point assessments, which remain at the discretion of the recording state. The important note here: the occupancy detection technology carries a stated accuracy rate from pilot testing of 88%. That means roughly 12% of flagged vehicles may be challenged successfully. The challenge process requires submission through the issuing state's portal with documentation, typically photographic evidence from a dashboard camera or passenger statement. For commercial operators and anyone sharing the road with heavy freight vehicles, this change has direct implications for highway safety and road conditions. Sensors embedded directly in the travel lanes at 31 designated corridor locations can now measure the gross vehicle weight of a commercial truck moving at full highway speed. No exit required, no static scale stop. The measurement happens as the vehicle passes over the sensor array. When a commercial vehicle registers above the gross weight limit for that state, an automated alert fires to the nearest enforcement unit, and the vehicle is flagged for mandatory interception. This changes the calculus for overweight commercial operators entirely. Previously, scale avoidance was possible by routing around weigh station exits. That route no longer exists on these segments. The fine and impoundment structure for commercial overweight violations varies significantly by state and by the degree of excess weight, with fines that can reach into the tens of thousands of dollars for severe violations. This is what I told you to wait for. This is the rule that generated a higher volume of violations in pilot testing than any other single enforcement mechanism, not per location, but in total. And the reason it generated so many violations is the same reason almost no coverage of this overhaul is explaining it clearly. It is not a speed limit rule. It is a speed behavior rule. The Corridor Speed Differential Enforcement System, CSDES, does not measure your speed against the posted limit. It measures your speed against the speed of the surrounding traffic flow in your lane. Here is how it works. The overhead sensor network continuously tracks the speed of every vehicle in every lane in a given segment. The system calculates a rolling average speed for each lane in real time. If your vehicle's speed deviates from that rolling lane average by more than 15 miles per hour for more than 6 consecutive seconds, a violation notice is triggered. That means two categories of drivers are at risk from this rule simultaneously. Category 1. The driver who is moving significantly faster than surrounding traffic. Even if you are below the posted maximum speed limit, if traffic is flowing at 55 and you are moving at 72, you are 17 miles per hour above the lane average. The system flags you. Category 2. The driver who is moving significantly slower than surrounding traffic. If traffic is flowing at 65 and you are doing 48, not because you are breaking down, but because you are hesitant, distracted, unsure of your route, managing a phone call with one hand on the wheel, the system flags you. The rule exists because federal crash analysis data shows that speed differential, the gap between how fast you are moving and how fast surrounding traffic is moving, is a more accurate predictor of crash involvement than absolute speed. A driver going 80 in a 65 zone where traffic is flowing at 78 is statistically safer than a driver going 60 in the same zone where traffic is flowing at 70. Fine structure. First offense, $100. Second offense within 12 months, $200. Third offense, $350 plus potential license point assessment. In pilot testing across 4 corridor segments over 6 months, CSDES-triggered violations accounted for 41% of all automated notices issued, more than speed cameras, more than following distance sensors, more than minimum speed detectors. It was the single highest volume enforcement mechanism in every test location. And the reason the volume was so high is not that drivers were being reckless. It is that drivers had no concept that this metric even existed as a legal standard. People who were obeying every rule they had ever been taught, stay under the limit, leave space, no phone, were receiving violation notices because they were traveling at a speed inconsistent with surrounding traffic flow. If you drive I-95 at any time of day on any day of the week, you are operating in an environment where traffic flow shifts constantly and sometimes dramatically. You merge into a gap, and within 90 seconds, the cars around you have accelerated away from you. You slow for what looks like a developing jam, and the jam clears faster than you adjusted. These are normal driving events on a highway with this volume, but under CSDES, each of those adjustment periods, if they last more than 6 seconds and span more than 15 miles per hour of differential, becomes a recordable violation. 7 rules. Everyone automated. Everyone active tomorrow morning. Here is what you actually need to do before your next drive on I-95. Number 1. Set your cruise control or your adaptive cruise system to operate at no more than 5 miles per hour over the posted limit in standard zones. In urban corridor segments, anywhere within 10 miles of a major interchange, keep it at 2 over or at the limit itself. Number 2. Consciously expand your following distance. The 2-second rule sounds like a driver's ed abstraction until you do the math and realize what it requires in practice. Count it out. It is more space than feels natural on a busy highway. That is the point. Number 3. If you are going to slow down for any reason in a through lane, looking for your exit, navigating around a developing situation, managing a GPS recalculation, move through it quickly or move to the shoulder. Below minimum speeds in active lanes are now automatically flagged. Number 4. Device down completely before you approach any interchange or ramp zone. Not mounted, not glanced at, not held at lap level. Down. Number 5. In high-density segments, monitor your speed relative to surrounding traffic, not just relative to the posted limit. If you find yourself significantly faster or significantly slower than the cars around you for more than a few seconds, adjust. That differential is now the metric the system is measuring. Number 6. If you operate a commercial vehicle on any I-95 segment, verify your gross weight compliance before you enter the corridor. The sensor arrays are in the travel lanes. There is no longer an avoidance route. And finally, number 7. If you receive an automated violation notice and you believe it was an error, every corridor state has a challenge portal specific to automated enforcement. You have 30 days from the notice date to file. After 30 days, the fine converts to a judgment. Do not let it expire. I-95 tomorrow is a fundamentally different legal environment than I-95 last week. The drivers who understand that will adjust. The drivers who do not will open their mailbox to a very expensive education.